We are recording, so thank you again for being here today to learn more about the Fulbright US Student Program. As I said when we came in the room, my name is Laura Collins. I am the Director for the Office of Scholar Development and Fellowship Advising here at Rutgers Camden, and I have been a Fulbright Program Advisor, an FPA, at Rutgers Camden for the last 6 years. And I'm so happy that you all are here and that you've shared a little bit about yourselves and your background, and you're ready to learn more about the Fulbright. As everybody here probably knows already, the Fulbright program provides fully funded grants for folks at every age and stage and from every background and discipline that you could imagine. So whether you are a junior, as some of the folks in the chat room told us, current senior, or even in various levels of graduate study, this award is for you so long as you don't have a PhD at the time of application. That's one of the eligibility criteria, which we will be getting into, but everybody who is here at this moment, you are all meeting those criteria, and I'm thrilled to share more about Fulbright with you. Perfect. So the big overarching theme of Fulbright is a program that was designed to foster mutual cultural understanding between nations. So when you think about Fulbright, you can think about it as not just one program, but many programs. Each country has its own different agreements with the Fulbright organization to foster these mutual agreements and to bring about better understanding of different cultures from all around the world. So there's some facts on the screen for you there just to give you a sense of how long this has been established and who organizes it. I had an opportunity earlier this semester to travel to New York City to visit with IIE, and I also met with representatives from the U.S. Department of State. So it's a really wonderful program. One of the key points on this screen as well is the binational aspect of the Fulbright program. And so what that means is that while here at Rutgers Camden, I will be supporting students who are U.S. citizens who are outbound and going abroad. There are Fulbright opportunities for students to come inbound, so binational meaning going out and in as well. Fulbright provides an opportunity for you to develop research or teaching opportunities, to go to graduate school in over 140 different countries all around the world. The opportunity for you to build lasting relationships, grow your network, and really advance your career. Certainly the name Fulbright carries a lot of weight with it. Folks know that all around the world. It's important also to know that there's more to Fulbright than just the US Student Program, although that is the focus of our conversation today. But for those who are at doctoral level study and are thinking about life after PhDs, there are the Fulbright US Scholar programs, for our recent graduates who are doctoral level, and for our faculty. There's programs that bring Fulbrighters from around the world to the US for various programs. So there's a really rich and varied components to the Fulbright program. Okay. So one of the other really key aspects is that Fulbright is looking to represent the US abroad and represent all of its diversity and all of the people that make up the fabric of our country. There's a great resource, and I can share the link out for a video called I Am Fulbright. But diversity and inclusion essentially are cornerstones of the Fulbright program. In fact, there are a number of Fulbright affinity groups, and I've included some of their logos on the screen for you there. They include things like Fulbright Access, which is the first circle that you see, which connects Fulbrighters with disability to each other and to accessibility resources throughout their Fulbright grants. Fulbright Noir, a community of Black Fulbrighters who are committed to increasing representation within the Fulbright program by highlighting the experiences and projects of Black grantees. Fulbright Prism, which empowers LGBT Fulbrighters to be out in the world. And Fulbright Latinx, an inclusive community for Latinx Fulbrighters. And that's just a handful of the ones that I selected, but there are many other affinity groups as well. Fulbright is dedicated to finding the most talented individuals and to sharing that talent broadly. And you all represent that by being here today. Okay, so I've already started to allude to some of the eligibility criteria when we were kind of having our opening conversation. Some of that is outlined here for you as well. So of course you can see that you must be a US citizen for this outbound program. If you are not a US citizen, I can certainly point you in the direction of speaking with your home embassy would be the starting place. But this Fulbright US Student Program is for US citizens to go outbound abroad. You must not have a doctorate, a PhD at the time of application, but you can certainly be in the process of earning a doctoral degree as long as you will not have it by October of 2023. Outside of that, the award is open to all different fields of study and interest areas, whether that's sciences or arts or humanities, everything in between. You must have your bachelor's degree already conferred at the time of application. You do not have to currently be enrolled, which is why we advertise this program to our alumni as well. So you just, again, having those degree requirements of having already earned a bachelor's degree, but not having yet earned a doctoral degree, you can be somewhere in between and have had several years out of school. That's appropriate as well. You may apply only to one type of grant in one country in a cycle. That's always a hard decision to make. And that's part of probably one of the most important, but also the most fun parts of my job is really helping our applicants decide what is the best fit for them. Fulbright is going to be all about deciding which country, which program makes the most sense for you, your history, your aspirations moving forward. And it's really fun to kind of work through those questions together. Okay, so this is just an overview of the program. You can see just how many awards are available as a Fulbright US student applicant. And you can see that they are broken out into kind of two main categories, our study research grants, and we're going to get more into the depths of what this means in just a moment. But generally, these are the two tracks. So study research grant, which will allow you to propose an independent project or to seek graduate education. And you can see that there are approximately 140 countries that you can propose to do this in. In an English teaching assistantship, there are about 75 different countries that are available to choose from. And in this case, you would be teaching in a classroom for a good number of hours, but it's not your whole time. And when we talk about teaching, and we'll kind of clarify this throughout the presentation as well, teaching from a Fulbright lens can be a variety of things. It might include prior mentorship. It can include coaching, teaching in the, teaching assistant in the classroom. There's a variety of ways for you to think about teaching and how that best fits your goals. Most importantly, when you're thinking about any of these types of awards and you're reviewing this, the Fulbright website has tremendous resources, and most countries provide a pretty good snapshot of what they're looking for in a candidate. Including if they're looking for folks who have kind of a traditional teaching background or career aspirations, or if, again, they have that very broadly defined. And so it's really important that as you're kind of making these decisions, you consult the website, consult the country page, and get a sense of who they're looking for as a candidate. So to break these awards out just a little bit further, you can see here that we have kind of this tent overview of the study research grant. And as I mentioned earlier, you can do everything from propose an independent project, which might be a continuation of something you've been working on as an undergrad or a graduate student, or something that you hope will take you into a doctoral level study. You can complete general coursework, whether that's counting toward a program you're already participating in here, master's or graduate level program, or you could enroll in a graduate degree program abroad. For folks who are thinking about graduate study abroad, it's really important to note that you have to apply separately to any graduate degree programs that you are considering for yourself, separate from Fulbright. Those deadlines will be different and varied, of course, depending on the schools and the programs you're thinking about. It's a really key step, though, because I've heard stories where folks have certainly not here, thankfully, but who have submitted the Fulbright application. Maybe they're even doing really well in the competition, but they missed their deadline for graduate school. And Fulbright can't award you the grant if you miss that other key piece, because what are they awarding you for, right? But there's many options with study research. It gives you a lot of flexibility. For the English teaching assistantship, again, flexibility is really key, because when you propose for a country, you'll be thinking about what level of teaching you want to do. And that happens all the way from primary education, very young children, up through secondary and college. And so I have had applicants who, they don't have any interest in teaching, small children. They want to be university level instructors. That's an option for some countries. You have to be mindful about looking at the countries and the criteria and what they're looking for and what they have available. One of the other key pieces of an English teaching assistantship to be mindful of is that you often do not get to choose where in the country you are placed. In fact, you cannot. So you may be choosing a country, but whether you'll end up in a rural area or a more urban area is often dependent on where the need is in that cycle, and the commission will make those decisions in the country for you. So there's a term, Fulbright flexibility, that comes into play, because you're really choosing the country and hopefully the level that you want to be teaching at. But beyond that, there's a lot of variables that maybe require some flexibility on your part. Folks also get to propose a community engagement project, an opportunity that in the hours that you are not in the classroom, which often can be, 10 or more hours of your kind of work time, can be devoted to this community engagement. And it gives you a chance to really delve into that mutual cultural understanding and connect with the host country that you have proposed to be a part of. This again just gives you some more insight onto these two different tracks, these two larger buckets, as we would say. So again, there's some overlap in them. English teaching assistants can do quite a number of the same things as the study research grants. It really just comes down to you and your individual goals, what you're trying to achieve in doing this Fulbright. But the options are all on the table. That's the most important takeaway from this. All right. So now we'll get into the nitty-gritty and the components of an application. So in general, the application is going to ask for some basic background information about you, where you've been to school, where you're proposing to go. You'll provide a brief abstract, a title for your project, and talk a little bit about that host country engagement. What makes you so unique? What is it that you hope to connect with your host country over as a subject? Maybe you bring a special set of skills, or maybe you're hoping to learn from the people of the country in which you're visiting. So you use that space to kind of explore it. And then you talk about your future goals. What comes next for you and how is the Fulbright helping move you forward in that way? The bulk of your time is spent in your essays. We spend a good deal of time writing, revising all throughout the summer in preparation for submission in the fall. And so you can see here that there are two primary essays that are required. So a statement of grant purpose, for those who are on the study research track, that is a 2-page document where you're fleshing out all of the details of what you want to do for your study research proposal. It needs to be an intellectually compelling and feasible, very key word there, feasible project, or justification for why you want to pursue graduate study if that's part of your plan. The statement of grant purpose should make it clear why you need to go to that host country, so why there, in order to complete your proposed research or study program, and demonstrate that you have the requisite academic or professional experience that you propose. The personal statement, the statement of grant purpose for an ETA is a little shorter. It's just a 1-page document. And in it, you would detail why you're interested in teaching English to non-native speakers, as well as why you chose the particular country in which you did. The statement would also describe any prior teaching or related experiences, while clearly describing what you will bring to the classroom in a host country, including any activity ideas that you might have or educational strategies that you would like to see implemented. And then again, for both of these, you have a personal statement, and this is where you're selling you as why you, right? How you're going to be an asset to the host country that you want to be a part of, and how you're going to be an excellent ambassador and representative of the United States. And upon your return in those future plans, how you're going to continue to promote Fulbright and all of its values. Those will be really important things to be thinking about. For anyone who is going to a country that requires a language evaluation, particularly our ETAs, that normally is an important factor. You would need to complete a foreign language evaluation. We do have some resources here on campus to help with that, or we can refer you out if your language is not spoken here on our campus, or we don't have those faculty within our network. And then, of course, 3 letters of reference. That will depend. If you are doing an ETA, it's really more of a form that they are just kind of filling out some brief questionnaire. If it is for a study research award, it really is a true letter of recommendation. It needs to be among your best that you've ever had in your lifetime, really outstanding. And that's another key part of my job as your FBA, is to help you think about who those letters are going to be coming from, how you make the ask, what the appropriate timeline is, etc. On the screen here, you also see that transcripts are required, and those would be transcripts from all of your prior or current institutions. It's important that the institution name as well as your name both appear. So while it does not need to be an official transcript, it cannot be a screenshot of a transcript, and it must detail your name and your institution's name. So we often do recommend that our students pursue an official transcript to secure that information. Rutgers Camden unofficials do not have our institution name on them at this time. It's something we're exploring, but we can help you with that process. And also, all Rutgers students currently are eligible for 2 free transcripts every year. So that's something else we can help you kind of work with. If the transcript cost is a barrier in any way, please don't hesitate to tell me, and I can kind of work through that. On the website, they have really helpful application checklists, application component lists that can help you work through all these different questions. Okay, so some of the things to keep in mind as you're developing your proposal or your plan and thinking about, where you want to go and what you want to do. I mentioned feasibility earlier, and I can't stress enough, Fulbright flexibility is one terminology, but Fulbright feasibility. At the end of the day, is this proposal that you are saying that you'd like to carry out, particularly in the world of study research, but also if you're doing the teaching, how connected is it to your past and your prior, future goals, things like that? It has to make sense. It has to be feasible. You don't have to go to another country and, fix all of the world's problems. That is not the expectation. It is the expectation that you're saying, like, this is something I can do in a really short amount of time. Okay. 6 months, 8 months, 9 months, 11 months. Those are not tremendous amounts of time, especially if anybody here has been involved in academic research. You're going to have barriers that you're going to face being in a new country. You might have language barriers or government protection of materials, and you have to be mindful of all those things, and you have to flesh them all out in your proposal and know that you will have less time than you anticipate. So feasibility really becomes a key factor, and that's something that I spend a lot of my time helping students really think through as they're working on these proposals. They are going to look over your record. So there's an opportunity for you to talk about past experiences, publications, awards that you've won. Why are you qualified to do the work that you propose to do? If language is a factor in your award, whether it's an ETA or if you need language to be able to communicate with the people in the country that you're going to be conducting research, you need to demonstrate that you have that preparation completed or you're in the process of doing so. So I had an applicant last year who was actively learning a new language, had only just begun, but was able to demonstrate like a plan for not only, this summer, all through the year-long selection period, and how they'd be prepared at the time that the grant was scheduled to begin. So that's really what's important, is demonstrating that you will be ready based on these different factors. And so then we're going to talk a little bit in a moment about kind of who's looking at these applications and considering all these selection criteria. Before we do, this just gives you again a little bit of an overview of the two different categories of awards. And so how you want to be thinking about your ETA when you're talking about your statement of grant purpose. Again, why do you want to be in a classroom? How have you mastered English language such that you can share those skills with non-native speakers? And the supplementary project, which is that host country engagement that would be necessary. So these are the things that they're considering. Again, your qualifications, and when we're talking about English teaching, the things that can fall into the teaching bucket can be quite varied. And so don't limit yourself. Oftentimes when I meet with candidates and potential applicants, we put it all out on the table and I'm like, that counts, that counts. So don't discount your experiences or yourself before, we've had an opportunity to explore all of that. And then of course your fit with your country and with the mission of Fulbright, keeping at the center of all of your work that the goal is mutual cultural understanding. I am going to this country to get something out of this experience, to learn more about the people, the traditions, the policies, the politics, etc., the education system, whatever the case may be. And I want to share that with other US citizens and kind of on a global scale. When you're looking at the study research side, a lot of this is going to be quite the same. The difference being that you are proposing a specific project and that it makes sense in the time that you have available with the resources that you have available. Okay, so I've been referring to our application timeline quite a bit and talking about that award year cycle and review cycle and all of that. And so this is a snapshot of what you can expect from beginning to end. So we are in the award application timeframe. It is open. So the 2024-2025 application opened on March 30th. So 1 week ago today. So I know one of the folks here today has already started an application. Congratulations. You can go in and begin your Fulbright application whenever you feel ready. The sooner the better, because it's one way to kind of get you on my radar that you are thinking about applying. No one's going to hold your feet to the fire if you start an application and don't finish it. I've had that happen. You want to do that when you feel like you know which type of award, whether it's a study research or an English teaching assistant, and where you'd like to be. We can make adjustments, but it's helpful if you have that information when you start. And if you're not ready to do that, again, you can reach out to me and we can talk through some of the things that you're considering for yourself before you go ahead and open up that application. But it is there for you. In the meantime, the website is there for you to kind of explore these award types and, the country descriptions of what they're looking for in a candidate and how many awards are available. I'll actually show you a few things that are on the website in just a little bit. They have statistics and just some really fun little tricks that you can kind of use to kind of guide your search if you are at those very early stages of searching. Through the summer is when you're in application prep mode. And so although you can see here on the screen that the national deadline is in October, and I can tell you that for this year, it's October the 10th, and you might be thinking, okay, October is forever from now. I've got 6 months to work on this application. This time goes by really quickly. There's a lot of steps in the process that take a lot of time. So I mentioned letters of recommendation earlier. If you are thinking of asking faculty members for a letter of recommendation, and I imagine that most of you would, May is just around the corner and classes are going to be over in less than a month. And then our faculty may be going on summer scholarship where they're not necessarily going to be accessible by email. And some of them may be heading into a sabbatical next year. You never really know. They may not be available to you after this month. So if you are considering applying for this cycle, it's really not too early to start thinking about making those requests for a letter of recommendation. You can do so very preliminarily and say, hey, I'm in the process of considering applying for a Fulbright. And we can kind of talk through like how to make that request. But you can, if you have a great relationship with someone, or it's a very natural choice for you, it's your PI or, your research mentor, let them know, like, I don't need anything from you right this moment. However, I wanted to give you the dates so that you are well aware of, what my timeline will be. And if you agree to this, I can keep you updated. Also throughout the summer is kind of that draft stage. So this is the point in time when applicants are working on all the components of their application, their abstract and their host country engagement future plans. Those are very short essays, thankfully. The two that are going to take the most amount of your time are your statement of grant purpose and your personal statement. And so we have implemented checkpoints throughout the summer so that you can submit that document that you're working on and get some feedback at different critical points so that, you have time to kind of make some revisions and really reflect. And of course, I'm available throughout the entire summer for one-on-one consultation with any applicant. You'll see that the campus deadline is at the end of the summer. So August 30th is the date in which we ask applicants to submit their applications to the campus committee. So you're not uploading it to the national deadline. You are not sending it to Fulbright yet. Don't worry. At that time, though, all of your information would be provided to us for review. And what we do at that time is in September, we invite each candidate individually to meet with members of our campus committee to be given very insightful feedback, not only just like line edits and like this, could be revised in this way, but also content. I don't understand what you're alluding to here. Can you clarify this? And it really is a very helpful process. We record those sessions so that you have them to refer back to and to continue to work on as you're in your final revision stage. And then, as I mentioned, the national deadline in which you have to have your application submitted for consideration is October the 10th this year. I'm always happy when somebody wants to submit before that date. I will never frown upon that. I love a person who's ahead of schedule, but that would be the latest in which you can do it. And so we do, you can see why we have our campus deadline backed up, because we want you to have your interview with your campus committee nice and early, so you have time to make those revisions. I also want to clarify a point about the campus committee and the interview process. We are here to endorse applicants. That is our job. Our job is to help you get through this process and to get your application submitted. We are not here to block anybody's interest in Fulbright or to serve as some sort of barrier to your application. So when I say committee and I use the word interview, don't be alarmed. This is not a weeding out process. There is no limit to the number of applicants we can endorse, and we're more than happy to endorse as many students and alumni and anyone who wants to apply as possible. So please know that that is not a barrier to your application. It is simply a support structure that we have in place to support our student applicants. After you have submitted, it'll be a little bit of downtime while the Fulbright team is doing their reviews and making sure that all of the documentation has been submitted properly and et cetera. And then it goes to the national screening committees. So that's happening right here in the US, and that's between November and December. And they invite reviewers. Oftentimes they've had lots of experience reviewing the Fulbright applications, many of whom have been Fulbrighters themselves. They're faculty from all across the country. They may be experts in the region in which you've applied, things like that. But that's where the screening happens at that stage during November and December here in the US. In late January, applicants would be notified if they were passed on as semi-finalists to the next stage of the competition or host country review. And at that point, if you've applied to, South Korea, your application goes to that Fulbright Commission in South Korea for additional review. So semifinalists is a huge achievement in and of itself. And I'm happy to say that this year we had 4 students earn semifinalist status in this application cycle that's currently preparing to wrap up. And then those applications all went to the next level of host country review. And as you can see here, from March through May, June, you will hear kind of on a trickling effect what the final status of your award is. So that's when you find out if you are named as a select, Fulbright Select, in which means you have earned the Fulbright grant, There are other categories, non-select, of course, and alternate. And we are in that process right now, finding out the award statuses for our current applicants. So it is a long process. You can see that it kind of goes throughout an entire year. There's a lot of downtime, but this is important for you to kind of be mindful of. Okay. So you can see here a little bit more about some of the award benefits. So round trip airfare, a monthly stipend to live on, some accident and sickness benefits. If you are applying for a ETA, you will get TESOL fundamentals course. So you get this teaching training, which is excellent to have. And then each country will have some additional possible benefits that are available, including if you have dependents, some will provide support for you to have your family come with you, additional research allowances, tuition waivers, language lessons, etc. So there are additional possible benefits depending on the country in which you apply. Upon your return back from your Fulbright grant, you join in a tremendous network of prior Fulbrighters from all across the country. And you also have this incredible non-competitive eligibility hiring status within the federal government. This is becoming much more attractive to a lot of our student applicants, because not only having the Fulbright name behind their application, but then now having the opportunity to join the federal government and having a leg up in those applications is really important. Okay. You get to forever be a part of the Fulbright network. The application timeline is simply reiterated there for you. Okay, so if you are thinking about applying as a Rutgers Camden student, there's some next steps that we've sort of outlined here for you. So the first that we like to highlight is our interest form. Depending on where you are in exploring the Fulbright or potentially other awards as well. I know that we're dedicated to Fulbright here today, but you may have some other things on your mind that you want to explore. Submitting our interest form, and you can see there's a QR code on your screen that you can go ahead and scan. That'll take you right to our interest form. It's a very brief and quick kind of survey that we've developed that is assessing, what your goals are. So this is an opportunity for you to tell me, I'm sort of thinking about these 3 or 4 countries that all kind of make sense for my work and I can't really decide, and I'd like to kind of have a conversation around that. I'm interested, in countries that, utilize these languages. I speak these languages, help me find my fit. Or I want to have graduate education. So there's a place for you to kind of explore all that on our interest form, which might help us better, guide you through this process. It's optional, of course. It's not a necessity, but it really does give me some better insight into who we're working with. And then, of course, we're available for one-on-one meetings to discuss your application, and again, helping you make all those decisions. If you haven't already kind of figured out which Fulbright path, country, application components, all of those things are the best fit for you, that's my job. The Fulbright website is jam-packed with past recordings of webinars, as well as a full slate of upcoming webinars. I attend them frequently myself as an FPA, but they have a ton of resources for applicants. Many of the live ones, of course, you can attend and you can ask your questions directly of, the country contacts. So each region has a regional expert with the Fulbright organization that can answer them. They have an alumni database where you can connect with somebody maybe from the country that you're exploring or who's carried out a project similar in a similar field of study. So there's some really, really great resources on the Fulbright website. I can't recommend it highly enough. Of course, I mentioned that kind of staying in touch through the summer is really key. So I need to first know that you're interested in going down this path, because again, October will be here before you know it. End of August 30th, that's a big key deadline. That's going to be here before you know it. I don't want to wish our summers away, don't worry, but I'm just reminding you of how fast time can go. And then, of course, we have that August 30th deadline so that we can give you all the best possible feedback to be able to strongly endorse your application. One of the processes that we have as a campus is to complete a campus endorsement of our applicants. And to do that, I need to know what you're saying in your application. We need to have met with you. We need to know you as a person and as an applicant so that we can speak well of your application, your intentions, how great you're going to be as a representative of the United States abroad. So those things all become very important in the month of like September, especially, but throughout the summer as well. So you can stay in touch. That's my picture. We are located in Armitage Hall on the second floor within the class suite. So if anybody as a current student, they may know this as kind of like the tutoring center space. But basically, if you take the elevator to the second floor and you make a left, that is where you will find the class suite. And my office is number 235, and you can come and visit me. We also have a way for you to schedule appointments using Raptor Connect. And you can find our office Scholar Dev for development and fellowship advising. Or if you send me an email, I'll send you back a direct link to schedule an appointment one-on-one with me or with my graduate assistant, Paulina, and we'll get you set up. Again, the QR code for our interest form is available there. And then I included our social media for you because we try to keep folks up to date on social media as well. Fulbright has a number of ways for you to stay in touch with them as well. As I mentioned, they've got these excellent webinars on their website, which you can pre-register for, or you can watch recordings if you're not available to attend live. They do have an email for students who are applying, and it's FB Student. The website, I can't again stress how helpful that can be. And then there are some really great videos available, including that I Am Fulbright one, where you can really see kind of the diversity and the depth of the types of applicants that are applying. I didn't have a chance to mention this at any point during the presentation, but something else I always like to kind of remind folks of. So, not only can you apply from literally every field of study at various ages and stages, assuming that you'll have your bachelor's degree by the time that you are going on your grant, those being the two key criteria there. But there's no GPA requirement. You may have noticed that when we were talking about eligibility, like there isn't one. This is about your ability to put yourself into this narrative, to be able to say, this is what I want to pursue, and here's my plan for doing so, and this is how it's going to kind of connect to my future goals. So what I love about Fulbright is they're not looking for a certain type of person. They're looking for all the best people in every possible sense of that word, right? So that's why they said we're looking for diversity. We know there's talent everywhere. So don't discount yourself from this opportunity. If you have an interest in going abroad, if you are interested in mutual cultural understanding and connection, this is the award for you. So I do want to make sure I leave some time for questions and answers. And then if we have an opportunity, I'll also kind of give you a little tour of the website. Are there any questions I can answer? So once you're on the Fulbright US Student website, there's lots of ways to kind of search using countries, different award types and things like that. But if you go to this award search page, you have the opportunity to kind of think if you know which bucket you're in, or if you want to see which awards are available based on a certain world region, or kind of drill down even further to different countries. If you don't want any awards that require a language proficiency, maybe you don't speak any other languages, you can kind of deduce those in this way. And so there's some fun things that you can do with this. And as you click through, it might also bring up other buckets to kind of narrow your search if you're really just starting from the beginning. I also mentioned briefly that we have like this great alumni page. So you can see here that there's some alumni ambassadors that you can kind of read through some of their profiles from past years. There's also a grantee directory where you can click around and you can kind of see if you want to look at a particular country. So maybe you're considering applying to Argentina and you want to see who has been to Argentina in the last couple of years, then you would get a whole list of people who have had the opportunity to go to Argentina recently. And then although when you click on these, it doesn't tell you much more than the information that's available here. One of the tricks that a lot of my students have used is kind of finding them on LinkedIn and saying, hey, I noticed that you were on the Fulbright website and you went to the country I'm thinking of applying to. I was hoping I could ask you a few questions. So most folks are very happy to talk about their Fulbright experience in that way. And the one other thing I wanted to point out to you while I have you on the website is all the way down at the very bottom, there's a statistics page. And so it's currently being updated for the present day cycle, but this can be really just helpful if you're narrowing down some things or you're kind of making some decisions. It really shouldn't be the only thing that guides you, but it's fun to kind of look at. So if you are looking to go to Cambodia, I'm just picking, then you can just open up Cambodia and you can see kind of trends in the applications over the last several years. So you can see that the number of people who have applied for a particular category of an award, so if it's study research, the number of applications, and then the number of awards, and you can kind of get a sense of kind of level of competition for that particular country. So, you know, in 1 year, they had about a 50% award rate, a little less so here, they had more applicants. ETAs, you know, you can see here. So when you are looking, so we'll use Cambodia as an example. Just hop on here. So we clicked on country, chose the world region, and then narrowed down. It will tell you right up front how many awards are available for the next cycle. So right now we are in 2024-2025 application cycle. And so you can see that they have 6 ETAs available and 4 open study research awards available. And if you click on that, for either of these awards, it's going to tell you a little bit more. So they'll tell you here, so at this stage, any recent graduate, or PhD is available to do 10 months of research in Cambodia. Here, they say that masters and PhDs are preferred. So some countries will give you those details, but they also will consider other levels of study. They have a preference, but everyone is welcome. All fields of study, where you might go to other country profiles and see like they have a really strong preference for folks who are studying business and economics or education or law. And so that can kind of guide you as well. So if you're kind of undecided between 2 countries, look at the country profile and the candidate profile and see, am I a better fit for one of these over the other? Because it's really all about fit. At the end of the day, they're going to be deciding why you should be at that, you know, in that country doing the work that you're proposing. And the same is sort of true for an ETA. You can see some information, basic information. And then here, you know, a key part of this is being a cultural ambassador for the US. Prior teaching experience is not required, but helpful. So again, teaching is very loosely defined depending on, you know, which countries you're looking at. Some have more stringent ideas of what they want. And here it's a professional development opportunity. So that's how they're looking at it. But you don't have to have any particular background. They're not looking for folks who, you know, have teaching pedagogy in their background. Here's what they want: flexibility, creative, self-motivated, autonomous people. That's what they're looking for. So you can see here, these candidate and country profiles can be really, really helpful as you're making some of your decisions. Do we have another question in the chat? Okay, so I had a question come in about timeline for applying. So if you are currently a junior right now, I know it sounds crazy, but this is your time to apply. So because your application would be submitted to the national competition in October of your senior year, then all of next year is when they're going through that review process and making decisions about your application. At the time when you graduate next May, you should know if you've been fully selected. As of January, you would know if you would be a semifinalist. And then at the time, you know, right now, March, April, May, our candidates are finding out if they have been selected. And so then this would be your gap year or, you know, next step, right? So if you are thinking about just a experience abroad, whether that's research or teaching, then you would be eligible to do that. Or of course, if you're going to enroll in graduate education. So juniors are absolutely qualified and ready to apply right now. If you are currently a senior, again, this is for 24-25, so you'd have something, maybe lined up for next year, including something going on here in the US that might support the proposal that you're working through. And then if you're a current graduate student, you have to sort of figure out where that lines up with your graduate studies. How about other questions? Okay, so with that, I'm going to go ahead and pause our recording again.